All right, everybody, we are starting up the podcast right about now.
Just
Hello,
a thumbs
hello,
up
hello.
with a smiley face on it.
Hey, guys, what's going on?
Not much. We were just talking about an emote we need to get fan, which is
Ooh.
fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be wonderful.
Man.
We
All
good
right.
to start?
Yeah, we're good. We're good to go.
I'm perfect.
All right. Hello and welcome to Next to Nothing, the show where we talk about how to waste your time and not your money in gaming. I am your host, Danny K. With me, as always, Ren, who discovered something amazing while we were getting the show ready that totally goes with brand, and he needs to make a renditions beanie.
Oh yeah. So apparently Streamlabs. Also, I'm Ren, by the way. Hi everybody. Probably should mention that little part first. Apparently Streamlabs did like an entire new merch line just really recently, because I've checked on it a few times and they haven't had anything for like months. But they had a whole bunch of stuff, from like beanies to more hats to stickers, which we were talking about, and like a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm probably gonna make some beanies. I'm just saying that might happen, possibly. Just throwing that one out there. But yeah. How you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good. And with us this week, we have the wonderful, fantastic
I see what you did there.
SoWasWieEinFan.
Yeah.
I can never pronounce his name, but I try every time.
Hey, I appreciate the effort. Yeah, you might recognize me from last week. I am slow boiling in my room right now because it's really hot in Germany.
I know that
And
feeling
it's
entirely.
supposed to be even hotter. It's supposed to be even hotter tomorrow, but also like storms. So I'm kind of glad that we're doing this today.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, we're looking at storms for like the next week here. It hasn't been like super hot. Like we haven't gotten like boiling skin hot yet, but it's coming.
It's bound to happen. Yeah.
It's been slowly climbing up there. Now today it reached 30 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I'm sorry.
That's up there. It's up there.
It's pretty up there.
It is an amount.
And tomorrow it's set to be 32 degrees.
Oh God.
Celsius. So
that sounds like hell.
I'm not going to mow the lawn tomorrow. That's for sure.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But we also had pretty good weather for a rock concert.
That's right. I was just gonna tell you to launch into this
transition.
I was trying.
So from last week to this week, you went to a show. I love hearing about music. We've obviously had AOB on the show. I've reached out to other musicians to like come on the show. Laying on us, dude. Tell us about fucking metal in Germany.
So it was not a metal festival strictly, it was a rock festival. It was called Rock Nights. Yeah, it was called Hard Rock Nights. And it was held for the third time. And for the first time it was stretched over 2 days. Ooh. Which is a big deal because it's literally right next to my small village in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's literally local only. And the bands that were playing there were also like local only. There was one band from Mönchengladbach, which is a bit of a bigger town, a bit far off. But this band literally just started. Their YouTube channel has 20 subscribers and they have 2 songs on there. They're literally fresh out of the gate. They had like half an hour of a set list. They were pretty good, but no one knew them, and they were playing for like 30 people at that point.
Yeah.
They were playing literally when the festival opened up, so there was pretty much no one there yet. But they had a good energy, and I like that in new bands.
Yeah. That's it. So if we can talk about saving money real quick. Going to local shows, first off, you're going to have a great time. If you have like a specific style of music you like, I can guarantee you go to a local bar or look for the underground scene. You're going to find some of the best, also some of the worst of that style of music. And it's always going to be under $10 to go.
In my particular case, this festival was free because it was a charity thing.
Yeah.
So every purchase that you made, you could buy like drinks there. They had like booths and everything. And then there was also merch. And everything that was sold there, like a portion of that was going to go towards paying off the whole event. And then the other half would go towards some good cause. I forgot which one.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I went there specifically with the intent of buying like one album by every band that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
And there was only one band there that even had albums to begin with. So I just bought their entire discography. There it is. Like literally everything they have released in 13 years. That's how you know it's a small band, because like how much did In Flames release in 13 years?
Yeah.
A bunch. This is literally everything they had. It's one album and 3 EPs in 13 years.
Yeah.
And it's a band out of my local town, Grevenbroich, which is a very small thing. So I felt really good at supporting like a really good local artist that made great music and had a good show. And surprisingly, they had a pretty high effort show as well. It was a very small stage, obviously. By the time that they played, their name is Antidepressiva, by the way, which is the German word for antidepressants. It's a punk band. And despite how small the stage is, they fit like a thing that just lifted up. So at one song that was dedicated to their friends, they had 2 of their friends just stand there with bangalos, so little pyros, and just got lifted up as the pyros in their hands were like lit up. And it was really great for such a small effect or a small stage as well. They even had pyrotechnics. It was like on top of the stage. It was really intense.
Wow.
And then there was a band that was like a cover band, so all they played was covers of a specific band. That is one of the biggest and most controversial punk bands in Germany, called Die Bösen Onkels. So there was a band called La Ultima, who were really great. And then on the second day, we had like a Kiss cover band as well. That was pretty much the only band that didn't play punk rock, because Kiss obviously is a hard rock band.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed my time there. It was free for me to go. The only money I spent on music that I now own. And I recognize that like German music is not something that you can easily get into in America. But like, especially with Antidepressiva, these guys are on Spotify. I would recommend just checking them out if you're into punk music in general. They do good stuff. And yeah, that's basically why I wanted to bring this up in the first place. Support your local music scene. You're gonna be surprised how much quality you find just 30-minute walk away from your home.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
One of my top 5 favorite bands that like I've ever listened to, I'm actually wearing their shirt, kind of just synergy here, was a band called Avoid. Listeners will know or will remember back when we had Austin, aka AOB, from Ghost Key. So Ghost Key's bassist was the front man for Avoid. One of my favorite bands ever. I'll put like links to the Spotify's in the descriptions, because I mean they're just some fantastic fucking bands.
Fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic. Go support your local music scene. It's always gonna be cheaper than going to a bigger national act, and you're also gonna meet a lot of really awesome people as well.
I'm actually kind of curious. So I'm not like a big music buff per se, but Van, you said that they had like 20 subs, right, on YouTube? I'm pretty sure that you said that.
Yeah, the first band that played.
Okay.
That just started.
All right, got it. I was like, how did they already get on Spotify? That's incredible. Maybe
the name is Procyon, by the way.
Okay.
I'm going to write that in chat.
Gotcha. Okay, because I was like, wow, I can't believe that. Maybe I just don't understand the rules of Spotify, but damn.
Yeah, no, the band that's on Spotify is called Antidepressiva. Again.
All right, I guess.
Just Google the German word for antidepressants and you'll find them. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Never mind. I'll shut up. Oh, man.
Cool. So we have some things to talk about here.
Yes.
Kind of want to get into just some like little things. I've played a couple of things. Fan, you've played some things. Ren, you've played some things. So I don't know who wants to start.
I just talked the entire time, so let someone else start.
I mean, I can go ahead and start. I played a game called Scanner Sombra, which is it's a very strange game, at least when I went into it. I've had it in my Steam library since I can possibly remember. But it's a game where you start out in like a tent, and there's just like a bunch of like camping supplies and stuff like that, and you look outside the tent, and obviously it's dark, because you're thinking, oh, okay, tent, nighttime, whatever. But it turns out that's actually like the main mechanic is everything is just darkness. And then there's very very tiny things where there's like light, usually like pointing towards like an item or something along those lines. And the first item that you get is a scanner. And the scanner, what it does is it shoots out like little light rays, and it'll actually mark the setting that you're in, essentially. So while you can't see anything, like it's pitch black, you see absolutely nothing, you're running around with your scanner just checking out everything. I'm playing this in VR, by the way, but it also does have like its own desktop mode. You can play it in either. But when I was playing it in VR, I just got to it, and then I grabbed it, and I just started shooting all over the place. And there were trees everywhere, and the thing that's like really key to note, too, is that it's not just one color that it picks, or it's not like it picks a normal color for a tree, for example. Like, it's not like brown bark and then like green leaves, whatever. But it just kind of circulates on like a color wheel, in a sense. So, like, it'll start painting in like green to like an orange to a red for certain things. And I just found it super interesting. I went through it for probably, I want to say, about an hour and a half. Just kind of exploring, getting into it, seeing how it is. And the odd thing I found about it, which I wasn't really expecting, I had the feeling initially, but I thought maybe it's just me. But it's slightly like an uncomfortable feeling, just being like in a pitch black area, and like a lot of times you're going through caves and such, trying to just navigate your way through the game. And at one
give you
point,
claustrophobic feelings?
Not particularly. It did in the sense of like you can't see anything. Like you go into a cave, you make a turn, and it's nothing. Like there's absolutely nothing, and you can even see through the caves. So like, say you highlighted one area of a cave, and then you went through, but you didn't highlight anything. If you looked back, you could actually see the tunnel behind you, like the outside of the tunnel itself. But like you wouldn't be able to see like what you're in. It was kind of claustrophobic at times, but that's not the real feeling I got. It was just really uncomfortable being like, there's not a lot of sound. It's very like quiet, and you're just kind of going through this static map per se. It is static, like nothing really moves, at least from what I understood. But like you get to a certain area, and it's probably like, I want to say about an hour into the game, and you get into an area, and then you encounter like a shape you haven't seen before, and the shape is a person. And you're just like, what? Everything else I've seen has just been nature and maybe some tiny buildings. So like Japanese like lantern towers, if you know what I'm talking about. That kind of style was there. But there was nothing in terms of like animals or people or anything along those lines. So it was the one and only time I've seen a person at that point. And I was like, that was a really like weird experience. So I continue going on through it. And the thing to note is like when you actually get to the person's making a weird sound. Like it's just like a weird tone. And everything else is usually fairly quiet. There's occasionally sounds, but it's nothing really bad. But you always have that mild feeling of like you have absolutely no idea what's anywhere. Because if you go into an area, like I'm just going through a really like narrow cave, and it just branches out into an entire like cave system with like bridges and everything, but you don't know it. You have no idea. So you're just highlighting things at random. And then like you notice, oh shit, I'm at the edge of this cliff. Just out of nowhere. I wasn't even expecting it. Yeah, there's a lot of like really random parts where it just catches you off guard entirely. I found it to be super interesting. Yeah, I found it to be super interesting and super beautiful. And the nice thing, like there's no reason to like try to go faster through the game. Like it doesn't, at least from what I've gotten from it, there's nothing chasing you. There's nothing like that. There was a part where it was almost like a jump scare in a sense. At a certain point, you're like navigating a series of bridges, and the bridges are all broken. I guess it's supposed to just like symbolize like a broken society, whatever. And
artsy fartsy.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very artsy game, so I was just like, whatever. I'm into it. I'm down with it. And at a certain point, like you could fall off the bridges and die. That was a thing I didn't know was a thing at all. I just was like, oh, whatever. I'm just gonna keep going. And like I just fell off, zoomed straight down to the bottom, and died. And I was like, okay, that was a great experience in VR. Not really. But like while you're navigating the bridges, you finally get to the last bridge, and it sounds like there's something like right behind you that's like actively chasing you. And that got me because like for the most part it's really quiet. And the only thing before that was relatively eerie was just that one person. And so I was like, okay. And I immediately turned around and there's nothing there. But like, even if there was something there, I wouldn't see it because it wasn't highlighted as a thing. So like, just because you highlight an area doesn't mean that specific mesh is highlighted. Does that kind of make sense? But yeah, I don't know. I found it to be like really fascinating. I found it to be really interesting. I don't know if I would necessarily call it a great game, just because like it's a lot. It's realistically just navigating. It's exploration. If you're into that sort of thing, sure. When I was playing it in VR, I was having a great time with it, but there was a couple times where like, okay, I didn't realize I was gonna like run face first into a wall. This is an uncomfortable feeling in VR. I'm not liking this. But for the most part, I found it to be like really interesting. I don't know. It was definitely a unique experience. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. For sure.
Just real quick, can you type it out in the chat real quick?
Yes. Yeah.
In the meantime, I found out that Fear of Darkness has its own name, which is Nyctophobia. The more you know.
Oh man.
So there was no, I mean, other than like being able to fall to your death, there wasn't any, like there wasn't that many fail states.
No, it mostly just seemed like an exploration heavy game. I mean, there was situations where yeah, you could fall and maybe you didn't understand like how to get there. So like in the bridge like sequence, like yeah, you can fall off an edge. You can fall off a ledge and die, but in the bridge sequences, parts of the bridges are broken. And you have to kind of try to like navigate your way through that itself, which can be a little bit of a trouble, but it's not too bad. It did not seem like it was a game meant to really be a game. Like it didn't seem like it was puzzle oriented or anything like that. It just felt kind of yeah, exactly. It was one of those more experience heavy games. Yeah, super pretty though. It was actually really really interesting to go into.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
it like I could see just like going through the some Google images here. I could certainly see this being one that might give people headaches.
Yeah.
But if you're playing in VR, yeah.
But it's absolutely just gorgeous.
It's a very artsy game, and honestly, like it does pull it off. There's nothing I really had an issue with when it came to like graphic design. Because I mean, realistically, the way that the game looks is based on how you play it. It's not like, oh, the game obviously just looks like this because you're the one that's painting it. You're the one that's actually like painting and creating the world for you to navigate in a sense. So yeah, I don't know. I found that to be really interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't really gotten all the way through it. I got basically like probably 20 minutes past the jump scare point, and I was like, I'm done for right now. That was something, but I'm done. I'm good for the moment. But yeah.
That kind of reminds me of a colorful version of Return of Obra Dinn.
Yeah. I haven't played Obra Dinn, but I have seen some images of it, and it's very colorful.
Great.
Yeah, I've heard that game was phenomenal. I do need to get into it.
It's one of the few games where I would actually agree with the phrase of "do not spoil it for yourself," because normally I personally don't feel strongly about spoilers at all. I can kind of anticipate something when I know it's coming and still have enjoyment in that.
Yeah.
But in Obra Dinn, like the whole point of the game is figuring out what happened. So if you spoil yourself, there's no point in playing the game anymore.
Yeah.
So I would say go in there and play it. It's a phenomenal experience.
Yeah. But yeah, overall it was a fun experience. It wasn't like it wasn't a game that I really felt the need to finish. Like I could go back to it and just play it for a bit. I wouldn't feel the need to be like, I really need to progress through this and see what happens, because from what I've seen so far, it's just environments, which is not a bad thing.
Do you know what the objective of that game is? Like what the ultimate point is?
It was just navigation. There wasn't any real objective. Like essentially you left the tent and then you found the scanner. And then at that point you're just navigating. And there is some story to it. I didn't really care about it because I was much more interested in the environments themselves than like just reading some text. But yeah, it's linear. It's obviously like fairly linear. There's not a lot of open worldness to it. Otherwise, you probably would just get totally lost, and then that's it. That's how I'd imagine it going. But yeah, I don't know. It was fun. It was a nice little like walk down the very dark, uncomfortable road experience. But yeah, that was what I played. I also played. I probably won't really talk about it too much, but I also did play Skyrim VR for a little bit, just testing it, see how that ran.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's good. There's nothing really necessarily bad with it. Melee combat feels a little finicky. Range combat feels phenomenal. Like, using a bow and arrow actually feels so incredible. Magic felt a little strange, just because the way that like VR works, like you can point your hands in whatever direction you want. So I was just dicking around, just spraying fire all over the place. That was the thing. The range by far was probably the best, like, gameplay.
Range is just
sure.
made for VR, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. And there was like, I was shocked by the amount of options that the game had. So when I was reading up on it, because I'm not gonna buy a VR game unless if I really read up on it, especially if it's like a port, for example, like Doom VR or maybe like Skyrim or Fallout. I tend to read up on those just to like see if it's just like a blatant port for money, or if it actually has like some actual work done into it. And while it is basically the same exact game, they added a ton of VR options, like a lot of VR options, a lot more than I expected. So there's, and in most VR titles, there's the ability to like move through teleportation. That tends to be like the easiest way of dealing with motion sickness. You have the option to have that, or just like regular movement. When you're sprinting or turning or things like that, they also try to narrow the view to like help with that motion sickness as well. You have the option to turn that off, which is not a thing in a lot of VR titles, I'm finding out. Like, that tends to not be an option. Like, I'd personally rather go through the like motion sickness like initially to get over it and then like play it the way I want to, which is a thing that you can do with VR. It just takes a bit. And there's mod support because it actually runs through the special edition. Essentially, it's the special edition just modded for VR. So you can run like graphics mods, things like that. You can run combat mods, all that stuff. So
Savage Dragon.
Yeah. So I threw in a couple like graphics mods, and probably combat felt relatively good, excluding like melee combat. It felt a little weird. But the graphics, at least from what I modded, they weren't exactly comfortable. At least, like, when you play for probably, like, 30-ish minutes, at least for me, personally, I found in really light areas, like, really well-lit areas, because I was using a lighting effects mod, that it was kind of, like, hurting my eyes a little bit, just to a weird degree. I couldn't really pinpoint it. It was just mildly irritating. And then at a certain point, I was just like, I can't play. I'm done for right now. I need to take a break from it, which is the first for me. Because everything else I've been able to play for, like, a few hours minimum. It's not that big of a deal to me. But, I don't know. Maybe it was just, like, based on solely the, like, high graphics that I turned it on. Because, with VR, there is a hint of pixelization. That's just the way it is, because the screens aren't that great. So maybe that, along with, like, high fidelity, like, graphics on it, might have possibly, like, caused some yikes on that front. I don't know. It was just a very weird experience on that front.
If I were to guess, I would say it's probably a mix of fidelity and FOV. Like, those two mix can, like, if you don't do it properly, it could go really weird for your eyes, especially.
Yeah, they do have FOV. That is a thing in it, so that was a plus. I didn't really mess with it, but you're probably right. That probably did have something to do with it. I don't know. I found it to be fun. There's also another minor gripe. So with the Vive, at least specifically, I find it really weird to use the grip controls. So on a Vive controller, it's just like mainly the controller, which you move around, obviously, a little like a pad where you can direct your camera and stuff like that. And on like the controller itself, where you're actually holding it, so like probably around your ring finger and your palm, there's two buttons there, which I find really weird to always use, because they seem so out of place and I don't normally use them. But that controls sneaking and jumping, which I understand why they're on that, but just in terms of like raw gameplay standpoint, it's mildly frustrating just to like deal with those controls themselves. I don't know how they would have dealt with it. You have the option to use like based on where you're standing, like if you're standing or kneeling, you can have that control your sneak, which I did find pretty neat. I was doing that for a little bit. It ended up with me being on the ground a lot. Like just kneeling, just crawling through everything. But yeah, I don't know. I found that to be like a really weird mechanic itself, at least like in terms of button layout. That might just be an issue with me and the Vive controls, though, to be honest, because from what I've experienced in all the other VR games, they're not used a lot, and I'm pretty sure that's the reason why, just because they're not that comfortable. But yeah, definitely the archery was solid. That was actually phenomenal. When I was doing, because it sends you through like a little tutorial area, it starts you off with a bow and arrow. And my immediate thought was like, oh, I'm gonna fuck with this thing. And I just start shooting arrows everywhere. And like it's very like reactive. So like I guess the big deal in terms of balancing VR is that there's no real way of balancing it. Like if I'm playing a sword character, I could just go like this a lot. Just start swinging like a madman. But with VR archery, it actually feels somewhat balanced. Like you can only pull back arrows so fast, right? You can't just constantly do it like a mad lad. But yeah, I don't know. I felt definitely like the most balanced mechanic as well as the most enjoyable. Magic was cool. It was cool. I didn't really care about it personally, but I'm sure if people are like, I want to be a magic man, like by all means.
That's probably me. In like games like Gothic and such, I always play like the mage class because I just find the idea of throwing fire around appealing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very interesting experience when I first did it, because I didn't realize, like, it didn't click in my head from playing Skyrim for so long that I can actually point the fire in different directions in this. Like, that didn't even click. So I was just like, oh, I'm gonna light this guy on fire, and I just do this. And I completely miss him by shooting on both sides of him instead of aiming at him. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, so like they both have separate like fire controls. So if I wanted to like attack one person in the air and also attack somebody on the ground, I can do that. But like it was not clicking at first at all, in the slightest. I was still like, this is Skyrim. It's gonna target this guy. That's how it works. I'm looking at him, he's dead. And it was like, nope, I tried to light my face on fire. That didn't work. I was kind of sad at that one.
Badass, though,
it was really cool. It really was. Like, if you were super interested in Magic, definitely it would probably be your favorite mechanic by far. I tried to light my face on fire because, like, in VR, you have to try to do the stupid shit. Like, there's no, you gotta. It didn't work. I was really distraught. I really wanted to just burn myself alive.
Powerful for your own flame.
Yeah, my immediate like reaction when I was like messing with the fire and I killed the guy was like, "Can I do this?" And I just start trying to light my face on fire and nothing's happening. I'm like, "Okay, this is fine, dude. Whatever." It was cool. It was definitely cool. I'm glad that I bought it. I think it was like $38, which for most VR titles, yes, VR is expensive. But the fact that it actually, like, it's Skyrim. It's the full Skyrim game. It's not like just some weaselly, like, get out of, like, it's not free money schemes here, at least. That's what I felt
Elder Scrolls Blades.
Exactly, yeah. Which is weird, because, like, when you're playing with Melee, it actually felt, like, it looked like I was playing Elder Scrolls Blades when I was doing it, and I was like, this is uncomfortable. I don't know about this feeling. I've seen this game before, and I have shit on it hard. I do not want this to be the same experience. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. It was super cool. It was definitely really fun having interactive archery, which also, it had, like, its natural archery, which is set on by default, which is, like, while you do hold the bow and you can aim, you can't really, like, redirect the bow itself. So, like, you can't just, like, point it directly upwards, kind of, like, in a weird motion. I decided to turn that off to try to have more realistic archery. I couldn't land a single shot. I was crying. It was so rough. It was really brutal on that front. Yeah. I've talked about VR enough. It was super cool. That's basically it.
What's better, Skyrim VR archery or archery in Wii Sports Resort?
I haven't played that one, but Skyrim VR's archery is really solid. Like, I was shocked by how good it was. I don't know. I felt like it wasn't gonna be super great, and then the tutorial, it was like, have a bow, and then I tried it, and I was like, this is really like, this feels correct in every sense of the word. There's no part of this where I'm uncomfortable. But yeah.
Well done, archery always makes me happy.
I was seriously happy about it. That was my first experience with archery in a game, and then I realized immediately, like, wait a minute, the VR archery is fantastic. Hold on. Hold on. But yeah. Yeah, that's my experience with Skyrim and Scanner Sombra. But yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I played Splitgate Arena. This was a free-to-play shooter that came out.
Portal FPS.
Yeah, basically, it's as if Portal and Halo multiplayer had a baby, and it's Splitgate. So it's a team-based, mostly, it's got your basic modes: team deathmatch, kill confirmed. Except in kill confirmed, instead of picking up, running over and picking something up, you got to run over and teabag somebody. It's got the free for all, and I think maybe one or two other modes that I just haven't played yet. So you and your team, red versus blue, load into a map. The map in several places has portal locations that you can spawn a portal in. You spawn portals with your Q and E, regular day WASD, mouse and keyboard configuration. So your Q and E portals are right there. Spawn one, you open up another one.
So every player has a portal gun, basically.
Yeah, every player has a portal gun. Everyone starts out with the same assault rifle piece of junk that but it's built like another arena shooter where you there's weapons around the map. So there's a railgun on the map, there's a shoddy on the map. So if you like arena shooters, Quake, you want to go back to the old Quake days.
That's basically me. Yes.
This is what you're gonna have. That's what you're gonna get from that. No rocket launcher, unfortunately. So no rocket jumps, but you do get a jetpack. It feels very, very Halo.
Yeah.
How chaotic is it? Because every player having a portal gun seems like incredibly chaotic to me.
It can be pretty chaotic. So there's a couple of things with the portals. You can see through your portals and your teammates' portals, but you can't see through the enemy's portals. The only and there's one thing that can be indicated, which is the enemy's portals light up or flash a little bit. If there's somebody on the other side.
Okay.
So if there's somebody that's watching, trying to shoot through that portal, you can kind of tell, and you can kind of shoot through and hopefully get some shots in on them.
Yeah.
So overall, I mean, there's not much to the game except I mean, the gimmick is it's an FPS with portals.
Yeah.
I was okay with it. I played it a couple different times to try to get a feel for it. I absolutely sucked in everything PvP.
Apparently, it's hard to master. I've heard similar statements from like a couple of small streamers that I talk to sometimes.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was rough. There'd be times where I would go entire games without a kill. I'd be like 0 and like 12. The time to kill seems to be the big thing for me. The weapons and stuff like that, and the time to kill. Like, I just feel like the weapons don't do enough damage. Because it kind of has the same problem that Apex Legends has, where it's where for me it's like it's Reload Simulator 2019. It's like I
sounds great.
I put an entire clip into somebody, and then I have to reload, and by that point in time, they already got like 3 headshots on me, and I'm dead. So that was like a big thing for me. It was fine. The game felt fine, played fine. I know there's an audience for it. I know there's people that are going to enjoy it. It just wasn't something I personally enjoyed.
Probably
Um,
gonna be one of those games that's great to watch on like a pro level, but hard to get into on like your typical gamer level.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be one of those situations where it's like CS:GO for me, where I can watch CS:GO. I enjoy watching CS:GO every once in a while. I can't play CS:GO. I'm not interested in playing CS:GO. um,
Those
so
poor
yeah,
shoutcasters for Splitgate. I'm already
Oh
feeling for
man.
them.
so like overall, I mean it's fine. The portal aspect, yeah, fine. I'm kind of curious to see how well it's going to do just as an arena shooter. Because arena shooters are just they don't last long. Quake Champions struggled. There have been multiple others. There's one arena shooter called Toxic. TOXXIC, I think, that I played a little bit of way before I even started streaming.
Yeah.
That I mean, I waited 20 minutes for a game. Toxic was free to play too. So arena shooters like that, I don't know how well how much the market really likes them. It doesn't appear like it likes them that much. But this game did have, I mean, there's some people, Blue Drake 42, Big Fry TV, and a few others that I saw talking about this game. So it might have some legs. We'll see.
Yeah, the thing with most arena shooters is that they don't have like a big thing that sets them apart. Most of them just try to copy Quake.
Yeah.
And this one at least has like a big gimmick to it that makes a big difference in gameplay.
Yeah.
So I feel like it will get a dedicated fan base. Although that begs also the problem that if you get into it late, everyone else that you're gonna have a match with is already gonna be a pro, and you're gonna have some tough times trying to get good at a game.
Yeah, you're gonna get smacked in the face quite often.
At the very least, I don't think this is going to be a dead game.
Yeah. So try it out. It's free to play. Check it, see if your specs. I mean, let me double check the specs on Steam real quick. For
me personally, it actually does sound pretty interesting. I mean, like when you compare it to Halo, especially when it comes to time to kill, I'm a big fan of that, as well as actual weapon drops. I really am not a fan of like players having their own customizable loadouts, because then things get really stale really fast if people find what's optimal versus like when it's actually like laid out on the battlefield itself. People have to fight for that one specific objective. Say you have like a shotgun or something like that on the map. People are going to fight to the death for that shotgun. It's just going to happen. It's a matter of time. That was one of the things I always really liked about Halo, was that it wasn't necessarily, best loadout wins, but more so you have to fight around power weapons. That's the big goal. You want control of those things. Was there like a capture the flag or anything along those lines?
There might be, but I didn't get to play it. I played very, very briefly. Just real quick, system requirements: 64-bit processor and operating system. That can be Windows 7, 8.1, or 10. Any dual core CPU, 6 gigs of RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 560, 1 gigabyte. Your DirectX version needs to be 11. Broadband internet connection and 15 gigs of storage.
Yeah, that's not that bad at all.
Reasonable, yeah.
When you played it, was there more than just one map? Because from what I've seen, there's only one. From what I've seen personally, I don't know.
Yes, I have played 3 maps. There's like your generic battle arena with nice, clean looking lines. There was like one, this isn't to be political or anything like that, but this is the only way I can describe it because I've been to the Trump Tower. It's basically a Trump tower gilded gold kind of bullshit. You know, everything is kind of gaudy with, that kind of made to look expensive look. There was a map that was like just like a bunch of ruins. So yeah, I mean there's a couple different maps.
Okay. Because I personally don't know. I don't know a whole lot about it in terms of like, I'm pretty sure it's in early access still. I really doubt, at least nowadays, it's really hard to find a game that actually releases. So yeah, I don't know if it's like, I don't think it's an alpha. I'm pretty sure it's just like in beta. I'm not entirely positive. I don't know. It sounds interesting to me for sure. It definitely sounds like something that'd be much more up my alley, especially while I'm waiting for Reach to finally hit PC sometime this month, which seems like it's never gonna happen. But yeah, I don't know. When you compare it like when you said Halo, you got me, and then when you said Halo with portals, you double got me. So far, I'm intrigued. I'm interested. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna suck, but yeah, and yeah, I don't know. That sounds fun.
I am terrible at shooters, but I do like games like Doom, which also has like a battle mode.
Yeah,
and I do love Portal, so I would probably check it out on that basis, die a couple of times, and then quit.
Yeah. I guess another question that I immediately have, because so one of the main like characteristics that are kind of different between most arena shooters is speed, the actual speed of your character. So for example, in Doom, you're really fast. Like you can be really speedy at times. Halo, you're set to like a pretty slow set speed. You're meant to like navigate through vehicles and such like that anyway. How fast are you as a character? Are you like, is it like reasonable person speed, or is it like really quick?
I'm gonna say pretty reasonable person speed. Like you're not zipping around the map. You're it's pretty average, like almost like Call of Duty speeds.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. The only reason why I mentioned that is that like
does it
Quake...
have the portal thing of like whatever goes into a portal comes out of the other portal at the same speed?
Yes.
Like does it
okay. Momentum is kept. Yep.
Okay.
Which can make some interesting, like, you know, if you jump through because you have a jetpack, so you can kind of force that momentum to, if you put it on, like at an angle, and then you like go through and then, pop out the other side, you can use it to gain some momentum. The portals for me just mostly seem to be more of like a flanking maneuver or like a flanking ability.
Right.
Someone just asked, is there running? Yes, there is sprinting. Yeah, so you can sprint. But yeah, the portals to me just seem more like a flanking kind of thing and more of like a quick escape. Right. So, you get shot from behind, you have an escape portal that you can easily access, and you destroy it on your way out. Or you use it to like, you go and put the portal somewhere kind of high up, maybe at an angle, and you try to watch it from from a different area of the map.
Right.
So
it sounds extremely safe is like the thing that I'm getting from it, which is a little bit worrisome to me personally. Is there permanent health damage? Like when you take damage, does it stick or does it recharge?
It recharges.
Okay, that's a little bit concerning to me, just because I could very much see a lot of people like using portals for that purpose, where they're just holding angles, but there's not really a whole lot happening. There's probably not a lot of really like hyper aggressive gameplay, I could imagine. That's the immediate key thing I'm thinking about.
If that gets exploited, I'm feeling like the devs would do something about it, though.
Yeah,
because they want to build like an audience, and
right. That's just something very native. That's just something very native to it explicitly. That's the one thing that I'm kind of thinking about, because I could very much see like, yes, somebody goes into a fight, they start losing, they already have like one of their portals set up, they just use their backup portal and then they dip out. I could see that being a thing. I don't know if you necessarily have to have both of them placed and then you have to wait for a certain amount of time for them to activate, or if it's just like, I have one portal ready, I can go into combat, if things turn bad, I'll use my other portal and get out.
So you get two sides of the portal, or you get one portal that has two sides, so you can like set them up,
right, and
you can just like leave it waiting. So we'll just say the Q portal.
Yeah,
you can put the Q portal like behind you, and if there's one in front of you and you start getting shot from the front, then you can hit the E and then like dip out and try to flank behind.
Yes, that's essentially what I'm thinking. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I think like, especially in high level play, what you're gonna see, because the enemy can see the portals that you place as well, he just can't see through them. So what I would expect then from high level play is the skill to see when someone's about to place a portal and then just aim at the portal that he is gonna come out of instead of aiming at him. And then that would open up certain flanking maneuvers of like placing a portal but not going through it and stuff like that. So I think that would keep it engaging.
You can destroy other people's portals.
Oh, okay.
That's an important information.
Yes, that's a very important note, because I'm just sitting here like, this sounds really passive.
I'm sorry, I thought I said that, and I'm like, I don't think I did say that. That or they didn't hear me say it. So
that opens up all kinds of possibilities.
You spawn with 2 EMP grenades
Okay.
that can be used to destroy enemy portals.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And that I've gotten trapped a couple times.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like,
It's all good. I was very much like, this
Or-
sounds very like easy to abuse.
Mhm.
Like, it sounds extraordinarily easy to abuse. Oh, I'll just place a portal and leave later.
Mhm.
Versus like, if I try to place a portal, they're probably just gonna like stop it and then murder me outright. So yeah, I don't know. That's definitely a keynote to have though, for sure. That makes that
Yes.
sound. Yes. Okay. That that helps out a lot. That helps out a lot. Okay.
I'll definitely keep just it's present on Twitch. I think if it maintains like even just a intermediate Twitch relevance, then it's going to do fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. I'm kind of curious, Ryan, if you pick it up in like in the next week or so. I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts on it. The other game I played this week, Insurgency Sandstorm put out a new content update. So a couple weeks ago,
Cue the surprise.
What's that?
Cue the surprise. He played Insurgency Sandstorm.
Right? It's a meme
man.
now. I mean, I love that fucking game. I fucking love that game. New World Entertainment, hit me up. I will.
Yeah, sponsor this guy.
I mean, I would just take a free fucking t-shirt. If I could get a Sandstorm t-shirt, that'd be fucking beautiful. So yeah, Insurgency Sandstorm update. A couple weeks ago, we got anti-material rifles. So your like Barrett 50 cal, big bullet guns. Guns that shoot bullets that are this big, which are just really fun because you take a shot and you're aimed like this, and then all of a sudden you're like this after shooting. But they put out what was really fun for this update is in the arcade mode. They released 2 new modes. They released a hardcore co-op mode. Where movement is slower, movement is more realistic. If you die, you don't get your loadout.
Right.
You get stuck with a Mosin Nagant, which is a bolt action. So you can start out the game with whatever assault rifle or submachine gun or shotgun or sniper or whatever that you want with whatever optics. But then if you die, then you're stuck with a Mosin Nagant iron sights. So you're at a severe disadvantage against the enemy, which is really fun. It really changes the dynamic of the game. You have to think a lot more strategically, and then like picking up enemy weapons becomes way more important. And deciding if you want to pick up an enemy weapon, knowing you're only going to get one clip out of it, is a whole other thing too. It's like, do I risk not having enough ammo to make it to the next position, or would I rather have the stopping and firepower to try to make so that's really fun. The other one, which is just incredibly ridiculous in many ways, very arcadey for Insurgency Sandstorm, is called Frenzy Mode, where all of the AI enemies they either use throwables or they're using melee. And there's like a bruiser who takes way too many fucking shots to kill, who can one shot you. Almost all of them can one shot you. There's of course a suicide bombing AI, which really fucking sucks because the explosion is fucking huge.
I wouldn't enjoy that mode at all.
And then the other part is like the ones with Molotovs are just screaming all the time because they're on fire. They're just fucking shrieks of pain, just really fucking
That's a cool metal band name, Shrieks of Pain. Hell yeah.
Man.
So both of those modes have been really fun to play. They added a new map. Well, it's a reissue from the original Insurgency called Ministry, which is very interesting because Ministry was a close to medium range map there wasn't a lot of sniping opportunities. In this game, in Sandstorm, they've really all the maps, all the game modes really focus on medium to long range engagements.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to see them bring back the Ministry map. I haven't been able to play it yet.
Mm-hmm.
My feeling is I'm probably gonna end up doing pretty well on that because I was really good in those close range engagements in the original Insurgency. And usually when I can get into those flanking positions in Sandstorm, I usually do pretty well as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't tested it out yet. I haven't had the opportunity. But that's Sandstorm. Once again, excellent job.
Mm-hmm.
The team deathmatch servers aren't available anymore, which is fine. I would rather them do like this rotating arcade mode than just like keep TDM.
Yeah. Yeah. From what I saw, because I actually watched you play the, I'm going to call it Infection, because it heavily reminded me of Halo's Infection. But then when I thought about it more, because my initial thought when I called it Infection was I actually thought you were going against players. I didn't realize you were going against AI.
Yeah.
I'd probably compare it more to just like COD zombies at that point. But I don't know. That didn't necessarily appeal to me super much. It looked a little bit at times frustrating, especially when the guys could tank. Because you shot like 2 clips into one man, and he was not going down, and I was like, this guy needs to die.
That's some Borderlands stuff. Right there.
Yeah. But that being said, the hardcore mode sounded a lot more interesting for sure. Like that, for me personally, I'm much more interested when I want a co-op experience. I want it to be difficult. I want it to be something that I actually need to at least strategize somewhat with the person I'm playing with, rather than it just being like, in a sense of Borderlands, it's kind of just like, oh, we're strong, we're just gonna like murder everything. For at points in the game, that just is what it is. But yeah, I do like the concept of it being difficult, and I like the concept of limitations. I'm always a big proponent for having limited like things, and then you as a player have to expand on it rather than it just giving you all the tools in the rainbow. But yeah, I don't know. That sounds super cool. That definitely sounds really interesting. And I think from what I read somewhere, isn't it getting modding support? Isn't that a thing?
Yes, soon. And I'm not sure what all the mods they're going to allow. Because the mods in the original Insurgency, there was a couple game mods. They actually even made the second game that NWI made called Day of Infamy, where guys like me beat up guys like Fan.
Perfect. Tell me more about this.
Oh man.
So the Day of Infamy started out as a mod in the original Insurgency. They made a couple other like game mode mods, like a Wild West one, because you had a shotgun and you had bolt action and a revolver. So those are the 3 weapons you got, and they get that version. There's a few other, but a lot of them were cosmetics.
Right.
And the problem ended up being, and I am 100% guilty of this, was that there's a pistol in the game. There's a mod that gave a pistol a red dot. So you didn't have to spend the points. Well, on the pistol, it was fine because there was no red dot anyways on the pistol. But with some of these weapon mods, then you didn't have to spend the points to get an aiming reticle.
Right.
Which was the whole point of the point system. I put it on a pistol because I'm like, who the fuck cares about it being on a pistol? The only thing was that I put it on there and I played James Bond a lot. I fucking... Especially in night maps, I would run around with a silencer on that pistol, nothing else. And I would usually do really well. So I'm kind of curious to see how that modding is going to work, because to not have to spend the points on aiming reticle of some sort would be a huge advantage for anyone who plays Breacher or anyone that plays Rifleman. So
I hope they put a pink Darth Vader in there just to stick it to EA some more.
So yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what kind of support they're going to actually give.
Yeah, modding support is always huge when it gets announced. I personally think it's one of the best things that can be announced for a lot of titles, just because so many games are just blatantly enhanced by it. Like communities, devs have their own idea for a game, but communities can have a vastly different idea for the game entirely. There has been like people are all like, this is a first person like World War II shooter, and they're like, this is a space game, thank you, we're gonna go fight aliens. You're wrong, Mr. Devs. And it's like, okay,
the entire MOBA genre just exists because of mod support.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
let that sink in.
Yeah, because it started
It's
as
a big deal.
Warcraft 2 mod, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or
3, I think.
Yeah.
I think the Dota was Warcraft 3.
Yes. Yeah.
Pretty sure of that.
And even when you think about in the terms of like game creation, Dota in itself has had so many actual games created inside of Dota that aren't even remotely close to Dota in the slightest. Exactly. Auto chess is one of them. There was another one that was like a oh my goodness, I want to call it, it was kind of like Age of Empires, I believe. There's a lot of different things that are just made in those environments that you never really think about. Like, they're never really considered. So based on how well they do the modding support in that, I could see that being a huge plus. I always am a big proponent of it. I can't play Skyrim at this point without mods. That's just a thing. Things like that, I don't know. I always find that to be a huge incentive. And it keeps life expectancy for a game up drastically.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and like I said, they had mod support in the original Insurgency. The original Insurgency was a mod. It was a Half-Life mod. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what they allow and what they don't allow. Like I said, a lot of it before was cosmetics. Make both teams easier to see kind of thing, or more updated, cool looking models. There's a few of them that I remember seeing in the original one. So yeah, that's Insurgency Sandstorm. Anything else on either of those things, guys?
I think I'm good.
Cool. Fan.
Yes.
You were very helpful last week, and you watched a lot of E3, and you're doing a lot of E3 stuff for yourself, and that kind of led you into a problem. Why don't you explain?
Exactly. So I streamed the entirety of E3, like all of the conferences at least, even the shittier ones that no one else watched. So that created a lot of VODs that I had to download because I needed to cut them up to have like one VOD for each conference.
Right.
Which led to some pretty big files just filling up my entire hard drive and rendering those out, like cutting a piece of it out and rendering it out as a separate thing so that I can then cut it up and cut out like unnecessary pauses and parts where someone went to go to the toilet and stuff like that. And then rendering that again took out a bit more time than I expected, especially when one of the things that I have to cut up is a 7-hour VOD. So that kind of took out my entire bandwidth. I couldn't like play anything on my PC. I couldn't stream. So what I instead then did for gaming was break out this boy here. In case you're listening to this podcast, for instance on Spotify, this is my 2DS. So back when I went to high school in Mönchengladbach, there was a Gamestop right on the way to the school. So of course, like the student that I was, after a particularly hard day of school or just after any school day really, I could just literally make a turn into the shop and buy a used game or something, bring it home, make sure it works, and then never play it again. So moments like these are really where I break some of those games out and see if they're really good. And just in the theme of this podcast, these games, even when I bought them back in the day, were like some months old. So at this point, they are years old. You can get them for real cheap. So I played 4 of them, and I'm just kind of give a little thought gallery, I guess. None of them will be particularly in depth, but enough for my thoughts after a couple of hours. The first one is this one, Etrian Odyssey Mystery Dungeon, which is a crossover between the Etrian Odyssey RPG series and the Mystery Dungeon games. The latter of which is basically unknown, but everyone has still played them because of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, which is a crossover between Mystery Dungeon and Pokemon, obviously. So this combines the character classes and the difficulty of Etrian Odyssey, which, in case you don't know, is real in depth. Like, you get all kinds of classes that you can name and customize however you want. However, the game is hard as balls, and you even have to do the map of the dungeons yourself.
Oh wow.
So it's real in depth. If you love RPGs, you're gonna love those games. I wouldn't recommend playing the first 3 of those, but the first 2 have already been remade with a full-on story. So I would recommend playing those instead. And this is the crossover. It combines the gameplay style of the Mystery Dungeon games, as in you walk around on the randomly created dungeons. Every move is a turn, and then your party members are just attacking and using their skills based on what they can do, their placement in the line and whatever, like from the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games. And it combines that with the character classes and the difficulty of Etrian Odyssey. And it starts out very linear, like you're in a town. You get like all these tutorials all dumped on you at once. You have like a very limited selection of classes to begin. Then you're going into the first dungeon. You're playing that. Thankfully, in this game, you don't have to do the map yourself. And you're going through this, and then afterwards, the game immediately opens up. You unlock all the other character classes. You can build a team however you want, and from then, the game doesn't teach you anything at all. It does have a story. I didn't get too far into it because it's really hard. It has the same dungeon system as Mystery Dungeon, so it has like a certain number of floors. On the bottom of each floor is a big like boss character that you can actually see on the map and avoid if you want, because it's a really tough fight that at the beginning of the game you will not be able to win. But those bosses slowly make their way up the dungeon, and if they escape the dungeon, they will attack the town. So not only do you need to go through the dungeons with your adventurers, you need to also either defeat the bosses before they reach the town, or actually defend the town, for which you have to build like fortresses and everything.
Okay.
I didn't get too far into it to actually experience one of those city defending battles, but this mechanic in and on itself makes it so that you constantly have to worry about 2 things. So it's really difficult. If you want to experience the most difficult Mystery Dungeon game you've ever played, I recommend this one. It's like, it's real intense. If you love RPGs, you're going to lose yourself in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
RPG related, but completely different genre is this one. This is the Final Fantasy rhythm game. Theaterism, Final Fantasy Curtain Call. The art style, I can take or leave it. It's a bit cute, but
it looks cheap.
Basically, I went into it because I own it, and they in the Ubisoft conference, not Ubisoft, Square Enix. In the Square Enix conference, they announced that they're gonna put all those Final Fantasy music on Spotify and other streaming platforms. So I took that because I'm better in rhythm games when I know the songs and have heard them a lot of times.
Right.
So I did that and then went into this game, and it helped a lot. It has literally all the music from all of the games that came out before this game came out. So up to 13.2, I think, or 14.
Oh wow.
And it has like basically 3 main modes. It has like battle mode, which is you're playing your rhythm game, the notes come from the side, and you have to use the stylus to hit the notes or slide them or whatever. And there are like boss characters and enemies and stuff that take damage the better you hit the notes. And the more enemies you kill, the more stuff you get, more points, unlocks. There's a ton of stuff in this game. There's even an adventure mode, which is weirdly engaging. A ton of unlocks to get. There are trading cards that you can collect. Second main gameplay mode is like travel, which basically is just the calm songs of the games, and it's pretty much all sliding notes. So it's very calm, and when you do well, you get chocobos. There's even items in this game that I totally forgot to mention that have different items. The characters have abilities. It's really in depth for a rhythm game. And then there are like the big cinematics, which each of the game gets only one of. And they are like this big cinematic things where the cursor's all over the place and you get disorientated really. Those are really hard to play. But they have like these gorgeous cinematics playing behind them. And they're really a treat to watch. It's like a complete clash with the rest of the art style, but if you love rhythm games or Final Fantasy, this is a must play, I would say. It's really good. You get a lot of hours in this. I had like 10 hours in this over the last couple of days. That tells you how
Wow.
much I played that one. Then there's this one. I think this is the most well-known one. Project Cross Zone.
Okay.
This is like this really over-the-top crossover game from Capcom and like Sega and Bandai, and I think those are the three main ones. It's like this weird combat thing where you have like a map with all your enemies, Fire Emblem style, and then your characters have certain movement. It's always two characters grouped together. You move one on the map, but it's always two characters, and it doesn't change which ones there are. It's just like the same two are always together, and they can have different assist characters. Basically, when you engage in combat, then it opens up into like a battle thing, and then you have to make combos. Every character only has like a certain amount of moves that they can make, and you have to chain them together in a way that it juggles the enemy in the air as long as possible, because if they reach the ground, then the fight is over and they take as much damage as you did. So ideally, you want to juggle them as long as until they're dead, which is an interesting thing. The story, I don't know yet. I'm 3 hours into the game, and so far all the story is, oh, you're this guy from this game. Oh, aren't you this guy from that game? And then balance. That's like the first 3 hours. The prologue is like an hour, it teaches you all the mechanics, and that's already like, hey, you are the guy from that game. And then the villains show up and like, oh my god, it's that villain from that game. That's literally all the dialogue has been.
It's
3
as
hours.
if Smash was. It's as if Smash was just really on the nose.
It's way more on the nose than Smash ever was.
Aren't you Littleback from Punch-Out? Oh my god!
It's insane, and for some reason they have Frank West in this game as well. He has like a move where just zombies appear from the other side. It's ridiculous. There are super moves in this. The gameplay is engaging, I would say. I cannot make any comments on the story at all. It's way too convoluted, and there's so many characters from so many games in this that no one had any point or part to shine, really.
Okay.
And then I might have lied when I said it was the most well-known one, because the last one is this one.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's
this
a Pokemon?
Is the only one I did not buy at GameStop. I owned it for like forever. I played 1 hour of it, and then I just I had it. I jumped back into this. I played now up to the 7th gym, I think.
Okay.
I like this more than I remember it. Like, I really dig the animations. I don't think the Pokemon designs are as bad as people make them out to be. Like, of course, the ice cream Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's in this game. And there are a bunch of them where I like,
dude, everybody loves ice cream, chandeliers, and garbage. Best characters.
But there are also some really cool Pokemon designs that honestly, like Chandelure is also one of those. Chandelure is pretty alright. Story also weirdly engaging. There is this one character called N, who got a bit on my nerves, but he's also really interesting in the fact that all the Pokemon that he trains are ones that help him of their own will. He doesn't capture any of them. So every time you battle him, he just has Pokemon of the region that are just helping him because they like him. There's one part where whenever you lose a fight with him, he makes you go on a Ferris wheel with him. That part stood out to me. It was like, God damn it, you needy pawns, get off my back.
Man.
By the way, just real quick, because I just want to throw some shade. Anyone who might have felt bad about, Ren saying that Chandelure was a garbage Pokemon, just remember his favorite Pokemon is Sandshrew, and he can,
Listen, one is literally a chandelier. It lives in a house. Come on.
Yeah, it evolves from a cute emo candle. What's your problem?
Whatever, dude. Getting sassed on because I believe in an actual Pokemon and
also,
not a chandelier.
Like one city in this game that's just absurdly big, and I was incredibly impressed with that one. Like, there's the bridge leading up to it, which has this amazing camera perspective. And then you are in the city, and it's so big that actually navigating it takes a lot of time to get to know where everything is. There are a lot of it's insanely big, and it was really impressive. So that actually got me sold on the overall art style as well. So I would say this is actually good. I was not as sold on it back in the day when it came out, but
Mhm.
I honestly came around to it. I'm gonna finish this one.
Awesome.
That's all the games that I got around to, because obviously I only had so many days.
Still mad that I'm getting salted on for like Insane True. Tilted, whatever, dude. Oh man.
Well, don't like garbage Pokemon, and that won't happen.
Wow. Oh my god.
So I kind of like an impromptu topic,
Uh-huh.
but so you said you got those at GameStop, right?
Yes,
And
most of them, aside from Pokemon.
Yeah. So we haven't really talked about this yet, but GameStop isn't actually doing well as a company. Stocks are down, profits are down for them.
They're pretty shit company, so I'm not like surprised at all.
But I mean, in terms of like being a place for used games,
Yeah.
I mean that's pretty primo. I mean, you can get
Yeah,
games that are a
it's
couple
basically
months
almost
old
the
for-
only place.
Mhm.
Pretty much in
Unless you
terms of
wanna go to a
actual
pawn
retail.
shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, do you guys think there's going to be any sort of obviously physical media sales are
Mhm.
going down just
Yeah.
for convenience sake, but do you guys think there's going to be any sort of um competitor to fill in that spot if GameStop does go down all the way?
To
I
be
don't think
honest.
I
Oh, you
don't
can go
think it's
ahead.
going to be one on the same scope, at
Yeah.
least
Mhm.
initially. I can see like someone being nerd enough to have like a passion project that turns
Mhm.
out to be something like this in the future. But I
Mhm.
don't think there's going to be a chain that's going to look at GameStop and say, you know what, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't seem like a good business model at
Yeah.
the moment.
Yeah.
We live in a time where everyone can just go on eBay and get used stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Or Amazon.
completely agree personally. I mean, the way I think of it is like if anything's going to take the rollover, it's most likely just going to be local like small shops, like local
The game
shops.
shops.
That's the only
Yeah.
thing I could imagine. Because I have to agree. I mean, there's been competitors with GameStop before. What was it? EB Games, the other
Mhm.
ones that I can't even recall. They went out like almost instantly. Like they were up for maybe like not even a year. I don't know. I can't imagine people wanting to like try to be competitive with GameStop. I feel like it's been failing for a while. At least that was my
Mhm.
understanding of it. It's been failing to my understanding for at least a few years. I realistically only go there just for used games and maybe consoles if I don't want to like go buy one online, which is fair
Mhm.
because shipping tends to break things and I don't want my console broken like on shipping.
Yeah.
In transit,
Yeah, exactly. So I always consider that one like a fair thing. But when it comes to things like new games or anything along those lines, I don't really care. Like I usually will just buy it either digitally or I'll buy it through like a shipping vendor, something like that. I don't know. I've never really cared too much for GameStop personally.
Mhm.
It's always
No.
felt really skeezy. The only time when I ever give it respect is exclusively just old games, old used titles. That's it.
Yeah. That's been the only purpose I've ever gone to
Yeah.
GameStop for too, is used games.
Yeah.
So
Which
this
was
is the last game that I bought physically.
Ooh.
This is 2 years now since I bought this,
Mhm.
and it was €7. So because it's an old game, obviously.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and I didn't even buy this at GameStop. I bought this just at Saturn, which is a big electronic chain in Germany. I don't know if it exists in other places.
Yeah.
So I don't need GameStop anymore. I can pick up older games on the cheap just because the stores didn't sell them.
Yeah.
So
What?
I don't see a need for this, even if you were to argue that the shopping experience of going through an aisle and just browsing through, even if you were to argue that, you can have that at pretty much every electronic chain.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that I could really say that probably well, it's what I would want GameStop to do. I can't exactly imagine it being productive in terms of revenue. Go back to it like its old state where it was it was like a gaming shop obviously, but they did have specialty items on stock. Like they did have older consoles that you could just buy there. That was a thing. That nowadays that's not a thing really at all. You could buy like figures, whatever, pop figurines, whatever the fuck like that. But
Funko
in
Pop
terms
or
of
Amiibo.
yeah, exactly. But in terms of like, say where I live, getting retro games is almost impossible. Like that's
Mhm.
very unlikely for me to get unless if I'm exclusively buying them online. So if they went back towards their roots in terms of that, because they used to do that for a while, they used to like do retro gaming stuff and along those lines. And I always found that to be really interesting. I could see that bringing people back for sure. I can't imagine it being like the most profitable venture, but I could imagine it being something a lot of people would be interested in. I know I'd love to
Mhm.
buy like a refurbished NES at like one of these places for sure. I
You
wouldn't
know
have any
what?
issue
I
with that.
agree. I agree completely. If they would specialize in like a
Hmm.
certain area, that would grant them like a small but
Yeah,
very loyal customer base.
yeah, exactly. And realistically, that'd probably be what I'd go to like a mom and pop gaming shop for anyway, is just for that old retro like experience. More so than
Mhm.
anything. I don't need like the top tier market shelf garbage. Like I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. Accessories are cool, I guess, but like for the most part, it's all a whole bunch of crap that nobody cares about. That's always what I see. Like if I go there, it's either for used games,
Mhm.
maybe like those Xbox Live like month cards. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? Maybe, but nowadays that's not even a thing. But those are the two things, really. Consoles, if I have to, like, if I need a console, I'll go there. But I don't know. I just heavily appreciate it if they went towards more retro style things, for sure.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, there's a chain in my area called Video Games Etc. that sells
Hmm.
almost exclusively retro stuff. Like they have
Yeah.
like some like newer stuff,
Hmm.
but it's all pretty retro. And then they sell those all-in-one retro consoles that it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
you got a
The
slot for SNES and you got a slot for Sega and you got
hmm.
one for Atari, and then it
Yeah.
takes all these different inputs for all these different controllers.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was just like a thought. I meant to talk about it a couple weeks ago or bring it up a
Hmm.
couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
but we just didn't have the chance.
Yeah. No,
Especially with the
it's
E3 coming up.
yeah. It's all good. I don't
Um,
know. That's immediately what I think of though. Cuz I mean even now you can barely find an Xbox or an Xbox 360.
mhm,
I tried to find a 360 just there and I
yeah.
couldn't find one. I had to like order it and then they had to send it there and then I had to grab it. And that's not
Hmm.
even I don't even consider that retro really. Technically yes, it's pretty old, but I mean
Yeah.
when I think of retro, I'm thinking of SNES, NES. I don't want the like refurbished version.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
we
Oh.
lost fan.
Fan, not like this, dude. Well, I guess we're gonna scuff like this for a little bit until he gets back. But anyways, what I was trying to say is I don't know. That would be the main thing that I'd be interested in
Hmm.
for like in terms of that. Um Everything else I really don't care about. If I really wanted new things, I probably wouldn't even go to GameStop for them. I'd probably go to an actual retailer. I'd even consider going to
Yeah.
Walmart for a console. Like it's not what are they gonna do that's really gonna be that much better than GameStop, really? Like, it's
Hmm.
just gonna be like, "Oh, it's a console. It's a console. They're the same price, whatever." But
Yeah.
that's yeah, I don't know. That by far is my big thing on that one.
Hmm. Well, damn,
Is
I was
fan
gonna
broken?
have fan is broken. I don't know what happened to him because the next thing we were gonna talk about was E3 leftovers, anything that
Mhm.
and then the value of E3. But I think me and you can have a discussion on the value of E3 until fan gets back in.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Um, so kind of controversially,
Mhm.
Sony wasn't at E3 this year. They said they don't need E3. There's been a
Yeah,
lot of discussion about the value of E3 in the gaming space. Is it really, first off, E3 is definitely not what it um,
used to be.
used
Yeah,
to be. It
yeah.
used to be a conference for stockholders and retailers,
Mhm.
uh, where people could show off their tech. They have booths for different accessories and memory cards, or hard drives and
Right.
whatever else.
Yeah.
And then they would show off the games. This is all the games that we're bringing out. This is the merchandise for the games. Walmart, GameStop, are you interested in this?
Mhm.
That's what E3 was supposed to be, and
Yeah.
now it's just a big marketing event where people can show off uh, cinematic trailers in hopes that it's going to bolster
Mhm.
their stocks.
Yeah.
that the hype itself and the amount of pre-order and stuff like that is going to get people, shoot up stocks and drive profits.
Hmm.
Um, so the question is do we really need that anymore when there are just, there's PAX East,
Hmm.
PAX West, there's Gamescom. Do we need that? And then, I mean, the hype train can get fueled by itself online. And a lot of these companies like Google and Sony are doing their own keynote
Hmm.
events.
Yeah. So I have
Um,
I have very mixed opinions on this because
mhm,
in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it really matters. Like, I really, for the most part,
mhm,
not really. You're completely right when you said, like, it's just a marketing event. It's entirely to build hype. But I mean, I can't argue that that's a bad thing, really. I mean, in terms. So, I understand. I understand why PlayStation went away from E3. Totally makes sense.
mhm,
From my, like, opinion, I consider things like Nintendo Direct. Well, that even made it to E3. But in general, those are really solid things. I really appreciate them. They're very well
mhm.
they're well produced. They're actually produced content rather than listening to dinkles up on stage just talk about like random nonsense that most people don't
Todd
care about.
Howard.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want to listen to somebody that I'm currently loathing right now try to like sell me on how something's fixed when it clearly isn't. I am not a big fan of that. But when it comes to something like the Nintendo Direct, it's very, very well executed. I can't argue that. It's very well directed. And it shows everything I care about. There's
Mhm,
no like random garbage that's just thrown in that doesn't really matter. Um Even when it is, it's usually like fairly short. It's just well produced overall. I can't really argue with that. That being said, that kind of content could still be at E3. I
mhm,
think that's a great idea. I do consider, granted, E3 before, you're right, it didn't used to be this marketing thing. At this
mhm,
point, it is, and also, I kind of don't really have a problem with that per se. I
mhm,
think that kind of just makes sense. Like, having a yearly event that a bunch of gamers can just watch and either be excited or loathe or whatever, versus just having individual things that are just released on their own time. I
mhm,
much rather prefer the E3 experience. I can't like hang out with my friends. I mean, I guess I could. I could hang out with my friends and just watch just the PlayStation Direct and then just the other thing. And somebody even
mhm,
put it like the Super Bowl. Yeah, honestly, in terms of gaming, I consider it in the same realm of like the Super Bowl, where it's like
mhm,
I might not care about everything that shows up on that. I might hate half of it, but it's something I can watch with a community. We can all have a talk over it. It's something like that.
mhm.
It builds hype. I don't really see a problem with that in general. I mean, obviously for them, there's no problem with it.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I think that is a good thing, but I also agree that it's just cinematic garbage. I don't really have a big problem with that in itself. It's just I don't know. I don't know. It's very all over the place. that's
Mhm.
that's really I don't know. What do you think about it? I guess that's the like big question.
I mean, my whole thing is, I it feels no different. I mean, it's just a collective
Mhm.
Apple keynote, right?
Yes.
It's every year
Mhm.
Apple and Microsoft and whoever else, they put their own, they do their own keynote with all sorts of hype and stuff like behind it. And those functionally serve the same purpose.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, I don't really see like the how the content has changed to
Mhm.
really, or the way that the expo has changed.
Mhm.
Obviously, I've never been to E3.
Right.
I just know from what, journos have said in the
Right.
past what it was like.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, E3 used to be much less consumer focused. It was much
mm,
more like, look at these amazing like we did something here. Not so
yeah,
much, hey, let's show off a game. That's everybody loves video games. Let's show off like 5 games and 4 of
hmm,
them are trash. It
yeah.
didn't used to be that. But I don't know. I don't really have a big problem with it personally. I
I
don't know.
I really don't either. I do think the value of E3 is just kind of
Mhm.
diminishing
Yeah.
for other reasons because we have these massive multi-million dollar, billion dollar corporations who some of them, like Google.
Yeah.
Google is just now entering the gaming space. Apple's just now entering the gaming space. They don't need to be a part of something like this. They
Mhm.
already have their own keynotes that journos and investors and retailers all show up to, and they all report and talk about it at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, it, and all these gaming companies are starting to get their own conventions, BlizzCon, QuakeCon,
Mhm.
where they can announce and do all these other things. Um, I think the value of E3 is just diminishing because the companies are realizing they can do this on their own, and that
Yeah.
this is just like another opportunity.
Mhm.
I don't have any real feelings, like negative feelings or positive feelings towards E3 itself.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, the only feeling I have really is it just kind of stinks that they drop so much news on people like us
Right.
at the same time every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be kind of nice if like Ubisoft and Bethesda and EA just all kind of like spread out their keynotes
Yeah.
over like a 3-month period. That'd be kind of nice. um,
Oh
yeah,
man.
it's not.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
think I go ahead.
so that's my biggest problem. That's both my biggest like pro as well as my biggest con is it's
Mhm.
everything. It talks about everything that people have been working on this year. I think that's great. Like I really like knowing what's happening in the entire gaming space as a whole at one point.
Mhm.
But I agree, like in terms of content creation, especially when it comes to things like gaming news, it's very like here's how it goes essentially. 2 weeks of dead time. Nothing's happening at all.
Yeah,
E3 hits. It nonstop. That's all you're doing. Next week
3-hour
nothing.
show.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Everything is gone. It's over. Um
Mhm.
in terms of creation like content creation like that, I agree. Um I wouldn't really have a problem if they spaced it out as long as there was like a specific time frame where everybody could agree this is our goal. Like we are going to display
Mhm.
everything. If they even did it in like if that was the case, then they all did it in like the form of like Nintendo Direct, PlayStation Direct, Xbox Direct. I'd be totally fine with it.
Mhm.
Having a crowd doesn't really do a whole lot for me, especially like when we talk about Bethesda when it was just so heavily like everybody's happy for garbage. It's frustrating to me. It's super frustrating just to like see how like absolutely fake it is.
Mhm.
Um so I have an issue with that in its own right. Um but like in the same sense like for E3 things, you wouldn't have those like things like Keanu Reeves showing up on stage. That wouldn't really be a thing if that's going to be like what you're doing.
Mhm.
Um I don't know. There's a lot of like authentic things that I really like about E3,
Mhm.
but there's just as much mainstream garbage. Like
Yeah.
easily. I don't know.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have a big issue if there was a lot more like direct things, direct oriented things, and if E3 instead of being one event, it was just like a series of events that were
Mhm.
just happening throughout a period. That'd be nice. I don't really have an issue with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It definitely, for me personally, E3 is a thing I watch either with friends or just to like
Mhm.
find out and then talk about with friends. That's usually like just what it is. It's never so much like I need to know what the top end hardware is coming. Even when we talked about like the Xbox like new thing,
Mhm.
could care less. Like that was the thing I cared about the least in the entire Microsoft conference was new hardware. It was like, okay, whatever. I don't really care.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I understand both sides of like,
Mhm.
yes, E3 doesn't really matter. Agreed.
Yeah.
But I still want to have that experience of watching like with an entire
Mhm.
group of people. Like, hey, did you see the shit Bethesda tried to pull? Did you guys see that? What? Oh man,
I
that
think
yeah.
I was just say I think that's a feeling I can get behind you with.
Hmm.
I think, I think I'm just going to adopt your position.
Yeah. I think it's a great position. I'm just saying. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in it. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I like it for what it is, but I also understand how frustrating it can be and like
Mhm.
how meaningless it can seem to people. I
Yeah.
don't think it's necessarily meaningless. I even when I
Mhm.
think about it in terms of like what would probably be a better idea. E3, everything is getting shown off. Everybody's comparing things to other things. That's just what it
Mhm.
is, even if they're not even necessarily related. So, like, for
Yeah.
example, Xbox releases a console. PS4 doesn't show up. Where's their console? I'm not thinking it. I could care less, but I'm sure other people are like, they're not. What? Is there an issue with their consoles? What's going on? That's positive press for Xbox. I can't really argue that. Bethesda gets rid of Starfield on the list as well as ES6. The fuck is going on there? What does that have to do with anything? But yeah, I don't know. I think it does serve a purpose. For sure. It's just probably not to the degree that people used to care about. I think it still has a meaning. But yeah, I don't know. I get it. I get both sides. I think that E3, while it's probably not the most, I'll concede it probably isn't the most revenue growing venture. It's usually not. If anything, it tends to make me upset about things more than anything. Bethesda, I know I've been shitting on it all night, but I still think it's a good thing to have. Even if it is very marketing heavy, you can still make out if a company is doing well. You can still figure out what's happening behind the scenes to a degree. Like, I keep mentioning Bethesda, but that one's like the golden fucking ticket in terms of everything I'm talking about right now. Other places are... Yeah, well, they're announcing, like, everything. Microsoft is announcing new consoles, new games, brand new, like, titles for new games, Xbox Game Pass for PC. These are all, like, fairly innovative things. And then Bethesda comes out with saying, I'm not announcing our 2 mainline games that we have been working on for years. We're not showing them off at E3. It doesn't matter to us. Okay, that immediately tells me your business is horrible. Like, that immediately gives me an idea of what's going on behind the scenes. Obviously, things aren't going right. With Microsoft, things are going fine. I might be more interested in Microsoft products. I am heavily not interested in Bethesda products right now. I don't know. I think it does serve a purpose. It's just not nearly to the weird degree where it used to be.
Yeah. So that's that. I mean, I don't have anything else to add. Do you have anything else?
Not particularly, no. No,
Okay.
not anything in terms of that.
With Fan gone, I think we can just wrap up here.
Okay.
Hopefully nothing catastrophic happened to Fan. But I do have some announcements I want to get out of the way before the show ends.
Yeah.
We are coming up on a 1-year anniversary for the show here. So for that, we're going to be doing a couple things, but I feel comfortable announcing the first thing, which is we're going to do a limited run of merch, specifically mugs. So if you guys are in the chat right now, I just posted a link. You can go to the merch tab of that Streamlabs website and find some limited edition runs, limited edition run of some mugs. Those mugs will be available until the end of July next month. It is currently the 18th for anyone listening. And we'll be announcing that every show, and I'll be doing that on Twitter. So yeah, we have a limited edition run of some mugs. There's also some stickers that are going to be available to people to celebrate 1 year. We're also going to be doing a special episode. Me and Ren have been discussing the special episode. If he wants to announce it, he can. I don't.
Is it the thing that I want to do? Is that it? Oh, Pog, yeah, hell yeah, I'll announce it. Okay, so we're going to have a streaming podcast talk at some point. I don't necessarily know when, but I'm super excited. I'm super stoked. It's always something I really want to talk about, and I never really get the opportunity to. Even when it comes to things like Streamlabs, what we're talking about right now, in terms of like mugs, they've actually, well, they announced the new mugs earlier in the past, but they do have color changing mugs. That's a thing. That's really interesting. They announced a whole bunch of new merch, new hats, beanies, as well as like just some other stuff. I don't know. They've done a great job in terms of that front. Are they expensive? I'll probably get into that at some point, but I mean, it exists. That's a plus. I don't know. It's always something I'm super excited to talk about, so I'm stoked for it.
So the price of the mugs, real quick, they're $12. They're as cheap as we could get them, while still making a little bit of money. Hopefully, we as a podcast have helped you guys save money, enough money
to buy a mug.
To buy a mug. So that is, so we're gonna be doing a streaming episode, like an actual like how to stream without like killing your self. Some of the tools you can get to help you with all that.
Yep.
Some marketing tips
Mhm.
from us, and
I can talk about anything under the moon. I am good to go for literally anything. So yeah.
So that's gonna be the Next to Nothing 1 year special episode.
Mhm.
I will have the actual date for that here soon. Let's see, and then we'll probably do some sort of contest. I'm not quite sure. I haven't decided yet what we'll do for a contest. But we will have some sort of contest as well to mark 1 year.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're still a couple weeks out from the 1 year. I believe the first episode that we did was July 10th,
Mhm.
2018, which would probably put our 1 year episode at July 9th, 2019.
Okay.
Someone just came in, saved money. I lost money by buying Fallout 76 for all my friends after Ren spoke with such admiration and love for it.
I hate that game. You're lying.
Do not besmirch his fine name. So with that, guys, I think we can call this good.
Yeah.
Because Fan is not here. Hopefully he didn't die. Guys, go follow him on his Twitch channel. The link will be down below in the description of the episode if you're watching the VOD or listening on Spotify. If you are in the chat right now, you can see it right there. Also, go follow him at Twitter. It's the same handle. SoWasWieEinFan.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. My high school didn't even offer German, so I have no idea how any of it's supposed to be pronounced. So go check him out on those places. Seriously, hopefully he's okay. I don't know. Hopefully his internet just shat out for whatever
Yeah.
reason. Ren, what's coming up on your channel?
Well, for those who don't know, I spent basically all of yesterday hardcore reorganizing cords, all that jazz. I spent so long doing it, I lost my mind. But I got a whole bunch of new stuff. I got, like, my consoles all connected to one, like, HDMI splitter. Super cool. So I can actually, like, swap consoles in, like, 2 seconds. I got my VR location itself set up, so I actually have a room to do things versus doing it at my desk and running into everything. And I also got a like portable like microphone, a lapel mic as well. So super cool on that front. I won't have the VR stuff super ready until probably Thursday. But I'm stoked about that. Hopefully Reach gets announced on PC finally, but I don't know when that's ever gonna happen. And what else is happening? What else is going on? We finished Doom. I don't know. I'm not entirely certain. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. I've been digging up with like just all the things though. But yeah. Yep. That's me. Yeah, you can find me at that one. That place. You can find me at twitch.tv/renditions, 2 Z's, because I'm dumb and can't spell. That's what I do. Yeah.
Awesome. Coming up on my channel, I just beat Pokemon Crystal Clear.
Ooh.
So I'm not sure what we'll be doing, if we're gonna be doing another game here soon or not.
Mhm.
Probably gonna be playing a lot of Insurgency and maybe some Siege here over the next couple days,
Okay.
or a couple weeks, just to go back to some usual programming. Other than that, there's not a whole hell of a lot. Like I said, we have this 1 year anniversary coming up, so I'll probably be spending a lot of time making promo materials and stuff like that. And maybe I'll do some of that on stream, because people do seem to enjoy me doing creative streams.
Mhm.
Other than that, guys, you can follow the podcast on Spotify. You can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. You can also subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on Swoot, TuneIn, iHeart, I believe, as well. We're on a lot of places. And if we're not on your favorite podcast platform, let us know and we can get ourselves on there. We would appreciate you guys if you really did share the show with your friends. Let your friends know about the show. Give us ratings on your favorite podcast platform, so on and so forth. You can also follow us on Twitter at NTN Pod. If you want to keep up with us there and interact with us there, you can also follow this channel, twitch.tv/DannyK, to watch us live every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, aka Chicago time. Yeah, we appreciate your faces and we love you guys. Is there anything else, Ren?
Nope. You basically nailed it all. Yeah, that's it.
Right. Yes, so we can call it good here, and we love you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being awesome. Toodaloo, hustle, possum, bye, chat!
Bye.